Hello and welcome to SiGMA TV. We're here to bring you some of the biggest topics in the business and gaming world as we gear up for our digital conference in June. This week we'll take a look at the daunting task of running a business during the COVID-19 pandemic and the opportunities that lie with it. Well, joining me I have Erik Bergman, co-founder of Catania Media and founder of Great.com. Erik is a hugely successful entrepreneur, and in 2016, Catania Media went on to public on the Swedish Stock Exchange and is valued at $400 million US. Erik has been at many of our shows before. Erik, it's so great to talk to you today. How are you?
I'm very, very good. And with such an introduction, I can't be anything but smiling.
Amazing. And so you're calling from Sweden, and I thought when we're seeing this COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm seeing a lot of positivity that's coming from your LinkedIn, so I thought I had to reach out to Erik. I had to get you on board and just see how you're finding everything and get a little bit of a breakdown. So how have you found the past few months?
Well, at the beginning, when I started reading about Corona and what news was coming from China and stuff like that, I just felt like, okay, this is the news screaming wolf once again. Nothing is really going to come from this. It's just pathetic. Please shut up. And it was like that for a couple of weeks. I didn't really bother. And then when it started picking up in Italy, I was like, hey, this might be worth looking into. And I started reading everything, and I started doing my own kind of math projections because I really like my spreadsheets. And I found in these graphs like, whoa, this is actually going to change the world as we know it. And I got really, really scared. I sat there just looking at my numbers, and I started crying because I felt I really didn't understand what things were going to come from this. I was terrified. And I was like that for a couple of weeks. And then the whole world started going to lockdown. And I was so surprised that countries actually took this as seriously as they did, as quickly as they did, because nothing like that have happened during my lifetime. But I kept reading all the news. I kept updating my spreadsheets, and I couldn't sleep. I woke up sweaty, dreaming about how this would impact the world, my business, my everyday life, my finances. And after a while, I just realized, okay, this makes absolutely no sense. It's all over the news. I'm doing what I can. I'm in isolation. I'm in a house in the countryside of Sweden right now. I'm not meeting many people. There's absolutely nothing else I can do to influence this. So I just decided to go on a coronacation. And I did that 3 weeks ago. And for me, that meant stop reading the news completely. So the last time I checked any news were like 10 days ago now, I think. So I have actually no idea what's going on with Corona at the moment. Maybe it's gone. To me, at least, it feels like it's gone because I'm not reading about it. I'm not thinking about it. And I'm just in kind of calm isolation. And that has been so beneficial for me. So now I'm sleeping good again. I'm happy again. And I'm in very creative work mode because no one is interrupting me with everyday stuff. So that's been my roller coaster.
Oh, and you said some really key words there. I think you started off by saying that based on what was happening, there was some sleepless nights, you were terrified. And I think for a lot of people, there was many sleepless nights. And a lot of times such fear can actually lead to immobilization. People actually can't move forward. They can't focus their brain. Sometimes they might not be able to work out some simple problems that maybe they could have done beforehand. And in the business world, you do have to pivot in these situations. This is a situation which not a lot of people in their lifetimes would have experienced. So as an entrepreneur, and maybe speaking to our viewers which are also in the business world, what kind of things would you say to them when it comes to pivoting, to being creative and making sure you ensure creative at this time?
I think that to start with, I think you need to accept that this is a very unique situation. I mean, if you are struggling to stay focused and motivated in a world crisis, a pandemic, something that is at least the closest to a kind of world war that I've ever experienced, I think it's very important to just be kind to yourself and be okay with that. Like, it's okay to not be productive all the time. It's okay to lose your attention when the world is upside down and when you're worried about your health, the health of others, and the world in general. So I think to start with, it's important to value the fear in this and let that fear take place if you're feeling fear. I felt very, very, very scared, and I sat a lot with that feeling, and I wrote a lot about it. And I was like, okay, what am I feeling right now? What are these thoughts coming up? How is this? And I processed that fear before I felt that I could move on. So I think that's the first thing, that this is an extreme situation. It's okay to not be fully productive in an extreme situation. And secondly, I think, at least for me, it's been so beneficial to just get rid of the media cycle. I've deleted my stock market apps because I'm not going to sell anything, even though the market's been crashing and going roller coaster. I've stopped reading any news. I've deleted most of my social media apps, and I've started logging out of everything. So if I actually want to check something, I need to do the process of logging in, which takes 15 seconds. And those 15 seconds often stop me from logging in because it's so annoying to type in the password, especially on a cell phone. It's like really hard. So I think these are key things, that instead of thinking so much about how to pivot the business, how to make the best out of this situation, ask yourself, what's the best for my health right now, and how can I prioritize my own well-being? And once you've done that, you can start thinking about business.
And if we move internally as well, because you said this is a real people's approach. This is people, first of all, making sure they're okay, and then also the people around them. So if we do focus not so much on external business and the challenges that go from that, but really looking for someone that does own a team of, say, 10 people, for example, you also have to make sure that your colleagues are fine and your colleagues are comfortable. So I guess as well in the gaming space, we've seen that actually people are taking a more HR-focused role and approach when it comes to making sure their employees are safe and comfortable and happy. Do you think we are seeing people more conscious of the human aspect?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think under this extreme conditions, it's impossible not to notice people's emotions. If someone is not showing emotions regularly, but suddenly you can really tell that they are bothered or they're afraid or whatever it is, that topic becomes a topic of conversation. And once it's all over the media, everything comes up, emotions and the human aspect of things will come to the surface more than usual. And that's what I've realized in our organization. We're now 9 people, and we're all around the world, and we're working remotely already. So we don't have an office. We don't have all the usual problems, but we still lost tons and tons of productivity during this time. And we spent a lot of our meetings talking about Corona and how people are feeling. How is it for, well, one of the people in the team has a father who's been a chain smoker all his life, and he's in his 70s. So he's really worried that his father's going to get sick. One of them is being locked in London, and there were kind of like almost riots outside the window for a few days, which was obviously a big deal. And all of these things have been happening that just isn't normal. And obviously you will not be able to stay focused. And I believe that it's enough that one person is going through something like this and they dare to open up about it. And when someone else opens up about it, it invites more people to dare to talk about what they're really going through. So I definitely believe that organizations in general becomes more HR focused because you get invited to be more HR focused.
And I know that we see you at our November events, which is always great. And I think it is amazing to be able to go to places where you can meet people and interact person to person physically. But obviously with the change in times, there is now that move to digitally, like this interview that we're doing now. Do we think this is going to impact in the future? So once this is over and once things start to pick up again, do you think this will actually change the way that people interact, people network, people communicate, even people do business moving forward?
I believe that remote organizations is the future either way. And I believe that freedom is the future either way, because one way or another, if you work from home and you run your own schedule, you will have more freedom. And I think that freedom is the ultimate goal for a human in lots of ways. So I believe that this is a progress that we've been seeing for a long time. And I think that Corona speeds that up. because suddenly everyone has to try it, even though if they haven't tried it before. And most of them will probably just go back to normal afterwards. But lots of them will realize, hey, this worked just as well. Maybe we don't need this big, expensive office. Maybe we can have people working from other places. Or someone who actually tried it for his first time, like, wow, I've been feeling so much better working from home. I've been feeling so much more productive, not needing to commute or whatever it is. So I think that lots of people will get the chance to try this that they wouldn't have otherwise, and many of them will continue.
Exactly, and people will be able to work out their own little time frames. Like, I'm personally an absolute early bird. I would never be able to sleep in past 8 a.m., but it might be nicer to have a lunch walk or a workout in the middle of the day and really select things that work for you. You had a sauna before the interview, so you're feeling really relaxed.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I usually wake up early, work between 8 and 10, and then I take a pretty long break between 10 and 1, 10 and 2. And then I work again between 2 and 8 o'clock or something like that. And that's definitely not office hours. This was not something I could do during my Catena years because I wanted to be in early. I wanted to stay late. I wanted people to see that I was working hard all the time because, well, I thought that was a good thing to show. And I really, really don't believe that's a good role model. And I really don't believe that's how I live my life in the most beneficial way. So just by trying those things and being able to test it out in extreme situations like this, just think that people will keep doing it.
And just out of interest, do you find that you're almost more productive now because maybe you're more creative than you were in your Catania years when you were doing such long hours?
Oh, yes, I'm so much more creative now. I mean, it's a completely different world, what kind of output that I get now. But it's also very, very different because Catena was meant to grow as much as possible, as fast as possible, and it did. But with Great.com, I want this to be as big as possible 50 years from now. And the most important elements for that to happen is that I love this company for 50 years. If I don't enjoy this after 10 years, there's no way in hell I'm going to impact it for 40 more years. So my joy in this project, my passion in this project is the top priority. And I'm sure that you can relate to this, that when you enjoy something, when you're caught up in an article or an interview, whatever it is, and you start thinking about this in the shower, when you can't really do anything, whatever you do, you keep coming back to this. It's the opposite of being distracted. Like, this is what your thoughts go to when you're being distracted. Instead of going away to something else, you keep coming back to this, and it brings out a completely different focus because that's what you enjoy doing. And Great is all about that for me and for everyone in the team, that becomes our top priority. And it has led to us making slower progress in many areas up until now because we've been figuring out how this works. But I have a strong confidence that in the long run, it means that things will scale so much better. It will unleash so much more power, and people will stay on for so much longer. I mean, something we see in the gaming industry is that most employees stay between 6 and maybe 24 months, and often the lower end of that scale. I'm aiming for having people who never leaves, that like people who stay for 10, 20, 30 years, because I believe that brings so much more value out of someone than it does to constantly recruit.
It's fantastic. And it definitely stands the test then that your kind of 1 to 2 year roadmap will be different as well because you're taking into consideration a 50-year roadmap. So are you able to share, do you have anything that you're really looking forward to in the next year, despite obviously what we are seeing with COVID? Do you still have some really optimistic milestones that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm super excited about the things that we're doing. So I've been focusing so much about social media and our podcast over the last 6 months, year. And this is something that from a short-term business perspective makes absolutely no sense. I mean, that I'm spending hours and hours on creating content for social media for a 1-year project would be completely idiotic. But I can already see now that we are more or less finding top talent from all over the world without even trying because they find my Instagram account. I got 150,000 followers now from all over the world with people who are interested in entrepreneurship and personal development. And it's ridiculously easy to find good people, which with Katina was our biggest struggle all the time. So just to see this proof of concept now happening. So this now in March and April, I've hired a really top quality SEO without even trying. He reached out to me 6-7 months ago and started wanting to help out. And he's been working for free just because he really enjoys what we're doing. And now he has started working with us more permanently. And that came from me not even trying. And same thing now, we're hiring a podcast coordinator. And I just shared that on my social medias, and we got over 100 applicants out of a lot of them really top quality. And it came from me doing social media. So I feel this is just going to spiral into more and more positive things that from a short-term perspective wouldn't have made any sense. But from a 50-year perspective, just having a recruitment machine where top talents find you instead of you needing to chase them, and top talents listening to our podcast and like they really know me. Some of the people started working with us have listened to me talking on podcasts for 20-30 hours. I mean, that never happens in a recruitment process anywhere else.
And I think what's really interesting about this discussion, this is why I always love hearing your keynotes at SiGMA, is that I was kind of expecting that we would have some points that our business listeners can take away. And the main point that I'm getting here is that it's okay to be unsure about what's happening during this pandemic, but to slow down and to really work out your real hobbies and what you're gravitating towards. Let the creativity flow and see how things go, and just kind of take everything in your stride until the end of the year.
Wow, that was a great summary.
Yeah.
It shows that you've been listening very well to me. I'm happy to hear that summary. Well done.
Thank you so much. And it was great to talk to you, so thank you so much. You've made me very jealous of your podcast microphone, but I really look forward to having you in our summit in June as well. So for anyone that has watched this interview that would really enjoy and like to interact with Erik and ask him some questions maybe, drop a comment in the comment box below and we'll be sure to get back to them before we hear you at our digital conference in June. But stay safe as well, Erik, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for yours. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. That's all from myself and Erik. We'd love to hear how you found this segment, so share your thoughts with us.